Apple leaks 7 products we've not seen yet.
Welcome, everyone, to the All Future podcast, where we talk all things AI, Apple, humanoid robots, the future, all of the future. How are you doing, Ryan?
Sometimes cars, I guess.
Sometimes
every once in a while.
cars.
Because it aligns up with tech. But I'm doing well.
You're like, we talk about cars sometimes.
Yeah.
Come on, you didn't mention cars.
Yeah, you got to mention every subject in the intro of this podcast.
Taylor Swift we talk about sometimes.
I guess we did at one point.
But today we're talking about new Apple products.
Yes. And the first one, I'll be honest, the first one's the boring one. And then we're going to get to the exciting ones. The first one is the iPhone 17 Pro. And the rumors here are that it's going to continue having the triangular arrangement for 3 rear cameras. And crazy enough, this is a design that was introduced on the iPhone 11 Pro.
Oh, my God.
So they're continuing it another year past the 16.
This was because we keep getting these leaks of the next iPhone having like the just straight across, and it kind of looks more like a Samsung phone, to be honest. But I'm ready for an iPhone that just looks different. I'm tired of like upgrading my phone and going, is this even a new phone or not? Like it used to be back in the day, they would add a camera, they would do something like completely different. You get like a full redesign, and now it's like, well, you guys are just going to buy the phone anyway, so we're just going to make you almost the same thing, and you're going to like it, you know? Or it's like a software upgrade, or we added the camera button. Aren't you guys happy? It's like, can you just make it look different so, like, people know I have the new phone, and it's not, like, just a color that I'm going to cover up with a case or something, too, so...
Yeah, so we've had rumors of a rectangular camera bump that would take up a little more of the back of the phone and then enable better cameras. And then the bottom, obviously, is still for wireless charging. So there's conflicting reports at this point. We have different reports from different suppliers and different leakers saying it's one thing, and now it's kind of saying it's just going to stay the same. Definitely, like you said, disappointing if that is the case. I'm hoping for a new design with the 17. Maybe they want an even number. Maybe 18's the one.
It's 18. It's
20's
20.
the
Yeah,
one.
we'll get 20 in a couple of years here.
Yeah.
I blame us. I blame us for buying these phones every time
Yeah.
that don't look different with all these minimalistic changes and things like that. But
Yeah.
we talk about this all the time, that iPhone is Apple's, baby. That's where they make all their money. And so they can't really mess with things too much in that world.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of that same mentality of like how it works with movies now. It's just how like a lot of stuff works, where you have to make an absolute winner that you know is gonna reach this threshold, and that means taking less risks, because your risk could be the movie bombs, or it could become the next Star Wars, a giant sensation,
This feels like a horror movie, though. We're on like, Friday the 13th, number 18, and we still have... the same format of the movie.
I guess it's like I don't know. Fast and Furious fans might
that'd be great.
But they might get mad at me if they're big fans. But the next Fast and Furious, it's not going to be the most amazing movie in the world, but it's going to make $1 billion probably. Right?
We're not going to space with this iPhone. Okay, don't talk about Fast and the Furious.
That's true.
Like that.
That scene in Hobbs and Shaw when he's holding the chains with his biceps, it's incredible, man. Anyways, so back to Apple products. That does seem to be kind of the issue. It overlaps. That's the same kind of issue we see in different industries. It's kind of happening there, and they're not really taking risks. But there's a rumor about a very risky product from Apple, and this keeps coming around in the rumor cycle. This time, it's maybe coming 4 years from now timeline for 2028, and that is a foldable iPad. But at this point, it might be almost a Mac, because it's supposed to be an 18.8-inch display, basically 2 iPad Pros stacked next to each other that then fold. And this rumor is out there.
So normal-sized iPad Pro is $1,000. That means this is at least $2,000, right? Mm-hmm. And so it puts it in a price range. It's like a high-end MacBook Pro. Those are around $1,800, and can go up to $4,000 if you get them completely spec'd out. And I just don't understand why you would need a screen that big. Maybe I'm an old guy saying that. I understand you could do the double wide. Are you using this with an external keyboard as well as those two big foldable displays?
Mm-hmm.
Are you using the actual iPad as your keyboard? Because that's super annoying. I can't imagine spending that much for a device and having a touchscreen keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
And then how much real estate is this really providing you? And is it like comfortable? And to be fair, like I don't like working on laptops, and I work on them all day, every day, most of the time. And when I'm on tour, I'm in a van, I have a laptop, and it is extremely uncomfortable to be in this position and whatever. And I really think the better solution for that is something like the Vision Pro. Not that that's like cost effective in this thing, but something like, or like the X-Real glasses, like the glasses that are just a monitor so you can like keep your posture and then just be working with a keyboard and a mouse on your lap or something like that. That seems like a much better solution to this problem than tablet with like a double wide tablet.
Yeah.
Would you use something like this?
I can't picture how I would use it. Yeah, like because I am already someone who I had a 16-inch MacBook Pro, but then once I was traveling, I downgraded to a 14-inch because it was actually just smaller and nicer to travel with, and more portable and not as heavy and so many things. So I can't picture myself wanting to upgrade to 20 inches, but maybe it's thinner, maybe it's lighter. But yeah, then you don't have a keyboard. What's your input? I can't picture myself wanting this. Maybe they'll convince me. I guess Apple convinces me with most products. I bought the Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't really picture it. And this does seem to be one of those continuous rumor cycle things that's like, oh, they're working on it. And I'm sure they're working on it. I'm sure they've been working on this for years. There are rumors of a smaller foldable iPad still coming in 2026 or 27, and then this huge one for 28. So that timeline is so far out that I'm like, okay, this is they've talked about, oh, we can make this happen in 4 years if we want to do it, but it's not in the plans. I don't
One
think.
of the patents we looked at too was like a quad fold iPad
Really?
too. And not that it was like the size of an iPad Pro and it was a quad fold, but like a quad fold to get it down to a size, and then you like it's this giant 20-inch screen or something. I just don't get, at that point, we should make better technology, and this has to exist. You know, you go to a hotel room or something, there's a TV in every hotel room, and you should be able to plug in something there, or there should be some kind of AirPlay going on there where you could just use that screen as your main monitor or something like that. So we have enough screens around that we could be using, but
Yeah, just they need to talk to each other.
and then the portability of these things, like how, then you have this brick in your bag or whatever that you need to travel with. So, and then as they start, like we see the trifold phones where, okay, you get this like big tablet you get to take with you, but then you're like literally carrying around this thing that's the size of a brick. And is that comfortable? And so I just think there's a lot of compromise that comes with the foldable devices more so than just a better screen. But maybe they'll make it way thinner. Maybe it'll be like answer a lot of my questions in ways that could be cool.
Yeah.
And I'm not an iPad guy anyways. I love the biggest phone you can give me and give me one device I can do everything on. So this isn't for me. It seems cool. I just wouldn't get it.
I'm probably in the same boat. So in the meantime, at least for the next 4 years, we're still going to be using MacBooks for that size of a screen, or getting close to that size of a screen and being portable. And there's one change coming that I think will be great, and that is a pill or just a hole punch cutout camera for the MacBook screen, as opposed to the notch that it has right now. I was kind of shocked when they first did the notch. I'm now used to the notch because you always have your bar at the top anyway, but they've seem to be moving to a hole punch, which I think is going to be much better for you when you watch full screen video or anything like that. And I also don't know why this hasn't been there, because you don't have a Face ID camera in the Mac or anything like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it does seem odd. I'm kind of take it or leave it kind of guy. This isn't something that gets me excited. I think as I get more into LLMs and on-device LLMs, the M4 and having more RAM is something that is getting me really more excited and needing those sorts of things. And I appreciate design change. As much as I've complained about not having design change, and this is the exact thing I'm asking for, and then I'm saying like, well, it's kind of a negligible difference. I would like at least knowing that you have the latest and greatest laptop because it doesn't have that whole notch in it. And I appreciated those things when I was younger, and I would buy iPhones like, this is a color you can't get. This is an amount of cameras you can't get. You want people to know that they have the newest and greatest device. And I feel like that's just something that's been lacking in Apple that, maybe it's because I'm an Apple elitist or whatever, and I want people to know. But that's part of having the Apple product. You want people to know that it's the new device, and if you take away that prestige, it's like, well, do I really need to upgrade then? And so this is at least 1% more, in that. Well, they made a design change, so it will be kind of worth it.
Yeah, I don't think that's a deciding factor for buying the new computer, but it is one of those things that's like, have they really not figured this out yet? When especially other phones already have just the hole punch cutout camera, they've got to be able to figure it out on a Mac, and it just makes for a more streamlined look for that screen as opposed to this little notch. So going forward, I think we're going to see that, and that's kind of a cool thing. But then on the smaller side of things, we have foldables again in the rumor cycle, and this is for the foldable phone, in which we have several patents.
Yeah, this one's kind of weird. It's just about the hinge and how the hinge looks and the hinge bends, but it just shows like a much bigger hinge than average, and how it's like made of several spokes that bend. I again, like I've seen these foldables. I'm just like, do you want a brick in your pocket until you like make the device a much thinner? Here's what would be a good solution. Mark this down, and Andrew predicts everything in the future, right? When we get the iPhone 17 Air, which is going to be a more iPad Pro style phone that's incredibly thin. If you take that thing and you fold it over on itself, it's slightly thicker than a normal phone. Because it is so thin. It is one of the thinnest devices that Apple will ever be making.
Yeah.
Now, that thing sounds cool. You're not adding all this extra weight or anything crazy. And if you can make a hinge that works in that scenario, okay, like, go take my money. You could have $2,000 now for the phone. I get all the benefit. I can keep the battery life there streamlined. I'm not giving up too much sacrifices, and I don't have a giant brick in my pocket. And if you could make that and not, take off more cameras or do whatever you need to do, like, do that. Do it and just make it usable, right? If you make a foldable phone that is just two iPhones stitched together, like they're making the phones now, like the Chinese phones that are coming out, the trifolds and the double wides, I don't want that. I've seen some of those in the wild, like of people taking pictures and stuff like that, and they seem to just have like a really small audience anyways. I don't think the average person wants that. Yeah. So it just seems like the market's getting diluted, and this doesn't really help anything.
Yeah, I feel the same way. They'd have to really solve it in a very exciting way, because that is the problem. You want this to be thinner, but how do you make it thinner with a reliable hinge that actually holds up in quality testing, to where they just have a robot doing this thousands of times per day, and it's not breaking on their testing. And I'm sure that's exactly what they're finding and everything they're going for. But they're, of course, working on it. And the current rumor timeline is 2027, 2028. So that's basically just as far out as a foldable iPad. And I think that level of years in an Apple rumor cycle is just a maybe. It's not even like it's actually in a release timeline. It's like, if we got to it, it would be 3 or 4 years down the line.
That's when we see stuff never happen or stuff get pushed. That's like the Apple Car rumor cycle. It was always, it's 5-6 years away. And then it just like, actually, we're just going to bail on the whole thing.
Yeah. But people watching, what do you think? Do you want a foldable iPhone? Leave a comment. Let us know. I'm curious to see the audience reaction. Maybe everyone's screaming at us right now, like, we all want foldables. So I'm curious to see that reaction.
The thing that might make me change my mind on a device, I do not own an Apple Watch anymore. I used to. I really liked it. I really like getting notifications on my wrist and the Apple Pay and stuff like that. And then eventually it just got to be too much, like charging another thing, and it didn't really do anything that was that different than my phone. And I just wanted less notifications, and so I'm like, let me get rid of the Apple Watch and see if I notice.
Yeah.
And then I didn't notice. And so that was like, okay, then I don't need this device. I still love them. I love the look of the Ultra that Ryan's wearing right now, the big boy. I really like them. I like that they keep adding new features. And this next feature is super cool and one we've been talking about a lot, but they
Mhm.
added, or they're going to talk about adding satellite to the regular Apple Watch.
Yeah. So this is the satellite messaging that is like you're out of cell service completely, and you can do this on iPhones now, at least certain iPhones. And basically, you can send a limited amount of data through a text in iMessage in an emergency scenario by going direct to a satellite as opposed to needing a connection through antennas and everything. And you said you misunderstood this before because you actually used it and experienced it. So
Yeah.
what was that like?
I thought it was only for SOS. Like you can only use this in a case of an emergency, and then they will allow you to use this thing. That's not true anymore. That was true at one point, and then they started releasing this, and I think did not a great job of explaining to people that you can do this. One of the things is you do have to be stationary and outside. So you can't be in a moving vehicle or something like that, which I think is probably every other time you try it. And when I was outside, it was in the middle of the desert, and I had to text you about something because the electricity went out and the Wi-Fi in the place that we were staying completely went off. So there's no service where I was. And it said, would you like to try to send this message via satellite? I'm like, okay. And I thought it would charge or send me to some other thing. And it was just all natively worked. I didn't do anything. There was no updates. There's no provider or anything like that. And then it comes up with this thing that's like, make sure you're in a clear area. There's no, and I was under like a roof or something like that. So it's like, no, you have to move out to the clear path. And I moved out to the clear path. And then it's literally like, okay, turn this way to make sure you're aligned with the satellite. And I was like, this is wild.
Yeah.
And so I turned, and then I sent a couple text messages out as test. I sent one to you, and I sent one to my friend who has an Android phone to see if it worked on RCS. Both of them went through no problem.
Nice.
And as long as I stayed in that spot, I could also receive text messages. And so you can only make calls and receive text. You can't do anything via data. But it was incredible. I'd never done that before. I didn't know that that was a thing that you could do.
Yeah.
And as long as I stayed in that spot and stayed connected, everything worked perfectly.
And I will say on my end too, it communicates it well. It says like, usually it will say iMessage or something, and it said iMessage via satellite for your messages. And then they were even like, I think outlined in a different way in the app. And then I sent you an article, and it specifically basically told me this won't work.
Oh, interesting.
Like he's not going to get this, and because he can't open it right now. But it was a good interface that showed me these texts are going through, but in a limited capacity. So then it kind of informs how I'm going to converse with you and not send you a whole novel over iMessage all of a sudden.
No, but it was really cool. I've never seen that feature work like that. It's good to know that it works not just in SOS. And there was like a Find My feature also that you can use via satellite. So it was really cool. And so if you add that feature to a watch, you suddenly don't have to go hiking with your phone anymore. And you suddenly have a tool where if you're like in an emergency, you can get a hold of anything that you need in that situation.
And it
that's
seems
incredible.
It seems like the rumor there is for the Ultra 3. So this is the Apple Watch Ultra 2, which was only slightly upgraded, I think, from the 1. And so the 3 is the one that's going to add that. This already comes standard with LTE connectivity and everything, if you pay for the plan, of course. And so that would be an additional thing. And I think you're right. I think it would take it to that next level where this is already like the ultimate sport. Go hiking with it, watch. You don't need your phone, but it could make it so there's no reason to have your phone because everything that you could possibly do on your phone is also available on your watch in the emergency scenario.
And I keep saying this, we need a camera on this thing. We need a camera on this thing, so no one needs to go out and buy Meta Ray-Ban glasses to be able to see stuff. You put a camera on the Ultra, you just show it what you're looking at and go like, hey, am I wiring this right? And Apple can push it out to ChatGPT or something else and then just give you a quick answer about that.
Yeah.
And then you will literally never need to take your phone out of your pocket for almost anything ever again.
It's true. The future is very crazy with AI, but then I think also with this kind of connectivity stuff, because this is a specific type of satellite. There's not that many of them that enables this feature because it's a very specific low data feature. But then you have things like Starlink, which is delivering like high speed broadband internet to areas that have never had any sort of connection like that. and they're launching constantly. I think they just got approved for 100 launches a year out of California for Starlink, and then they're always launching out of I think Florida and maybe Texas. Um, so it's just constantly expanding that service, and I'm excited to see when features like this come direct to the phone. And T-Mobile's doing that with Starlink with a partnership there. And it seems like the future is going to be a lot different for how we connect. Like maybe it'll still be through these cellular providers, but it's going to be a much different technology than what we've had with cell towers and stuff.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how much that data that you can actually get from Starlink will change things. And then, what kind of difficulties we face. Because I'm sure if, like, there's a storm or something something that's obstructing, your device from seeing the satellite, it'll be like antenna TV again or something like that,
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, I have to drive down the street to get this call out or send this file or something. I'm really thinking about buying a Starlink this year.
Yeah.
Because we travel a lot. I want to find out how it does when you move around a lot. Like in a vehicle, can you still use a Starlink and still use a connection? Do you have to put it on top of the vehicle or things like that? And so you don't have any obstruction. And then I'm just looking into the plans, and I didn't know this about Starlink, but there's tons of like domestic plans, and there's like a worldwide international plan at a completely different rate, like $400 or $500 a month to be able to use it in an international setting.
Wow.
Which is what I was kind of banking on too, thinking like, oh, it's like $150 a month or $200 for unlimited data, and then suddenly it's like, well, but you can't use it in Europe, and I'm in Europe about half the year sometimes, so
that's very interesting. And I know they've really expanded all the satellite receivers that you can get. They have smaller ones. They have like a backpack specifically designed to hold certain antennas. And I see a lot of people mounting them to camper vans and, of course, Cybertrucks and stuff like that. It looks really cool. I'm also interested, but I don't actually need it. But I'm like, I'm just like, I want to try the new technology. Basically.
When you want to live stream from your Cybertruck, you're like, I need the data.
Yeah, but upload speeds don't seem amazing on it yet. I don't know if that's something that can change with the technology. And by amazing, I mean like fiber level stuff.
Yeah,
so in order for it to fully replace everything, it needs to get that much better. But in any case, SOS or non-SOS texting via satellite is supposed to be coming to the Apple Watch, and it's exciting, and then exciting for what the future of that technology is.
Yeah, that's really great. I can't wait for that.